Hi, my name is Carolyn Green. Good evening. I'm tonight's host. I'm a volunteer for the Livingston County League of Women Voters. Welcome to tonight's forum featuring the candidates for the Livingston County Circuit Court Judge. The candidates joining us tonight will be on the Tuesday, August 4th primary election ballot. And we're happy to have all five candidates here tonight. The League is a nonpartisan civic and political organization that encourages informed and active participation of all citizens in government. The League does not support candidates or political parties. We do, however, take stands on issues that we have studied. One of the League's most important goals is to assist voters in making informed choices at the polls. Therefore, we bring you tonight's program. Our moderator tonight is Annie Weaver, who will explain the forum's format and get us started.
Good evening. My name is Annie Weaver, and I will be moderating the forum tonight. All five candidates for the Livingston County Circuit Court Judge are with us tonight, and it is my honor to introduce them. Andrea Banfield, Christopher Candela, Mark Gatesman, Mary Ellen Hayes, and Christina Like. Thank you, candidates, for participating in this forum this evening. So we are now ready for opening statements that can last up to 90 seconds each. Candidate Banfield, we would like to begin with you. So please go ahead.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, for having this forum this evening in a space for the candidates to present their issues. Again, my name is Andrea Banfield. I'm a lifelong resident of Livingston County, a mother, a local business owner, and a community leader, and most importantly right now, a candidate for the Circuit Court. I'm seeking your vote because I believe if justice works better, families are stronger, and businesses are secure, and our community thrives. Fortunately for us in Livingston County, we have top-notch public safety. Our police, prosecutor, and public defenders work well, as can be seen by the success of our specialty courts. The gap I see is in family law. It is the backlog of cases being heard, which has our neighbors and children stuck in litigation. I am the only candidate with extensive family law experience here in the county. I have decades of experience as an attorney, mediator, and arbitrator, and I will add depth to the bench. Family law intersects with many areas of the law, including business, tax, bankruptcy, and criminal law. I plan to improve the system that impacts the highest volume of court filings. In addition to family law, I have been a public defender for juvenile matters. I have provided service as counsel for children and parents in abuse and neglect proceedings and retained criminal counsel.
Thank you. Excuse me. And now, candidate Candela, may we have your opening statement?
Yes, thank you for having me this evening. My name is Christopher Candela. I've been working in the law for about 10 years now, and the last 5.5 years have been as a licensed attorney. I graduated from Michigan State University College of Law, where I met my wife, who was attending law school there. And after completing our education, we moved back here to Livingston County to be closer to family. I started my career as a judicial law clerk, working for a circuit court judge. She presided over a family law bench, so we handled all family law cases, child abuse and neglect, and juvenile delinquency law. In that role, I was a direct legal advisor to the judge. I did extensive legal research and drafted numerous judicial opinions. From there, I went to the prosecutor's office, where I have handled everything from charging decisions all the way up to running murder trials. I've done the jury trial work, extensive motion practice, and I also handle high stakes criminal appeals. So I've argued cases at every level of our judicial system, from the district court all the way up to the Michigan Supreme Court. So I have extensive experience on both sides of the bench, and I understand how the job is done. And so I'm hoping to give you some more information about me this evening and hopefully earn your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, candidate Gatesman, you may proceed with your opening statement.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters as well for hosting this. I think the electorate should have as many opportunities as they can to be familiar with the candidates. I'm a lifelong resident of Livingston County in Howell. I was born here and raised here. I'm a Howell High School graduate. I've run my law practice here in Howell, right on Grand River near the courthouse, for over 25 years. I come from a family of community service. My father served as the Livingston County elected prosecutor here in the 1960s. So when I finished law school, I wanted to break out on my own, and I moved to Florida, and I was licensed to practice there as a public defender working in the city of Bradenton and Tampa. And I had extensive criminal trial practice in Florida. I've been back in Michigan since 1997 here in Howell at my office. One of the other things I do is I work in state courts around the states, district courts and circuit courts. I also work in the federal court. One of the things I do in addition to running my practice here in Howell is I was recruited by the circuit judges to be part of the sobriety court program. And I've worked in the felony sobriety court program for more than 8 years. Have all the national and state training. Whoever wins this position is going to have one of the specialty courts, the Veterans Court, the IT Court, or the Sobriety Court. And I want people to know that I have all the tools and skills and experience to hit the ground running with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Hayes, may we now have your opening statement?
Good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Hayes. I'd like to thank everyone for the opportunity to appear tonight and introduce myself to the community. I've lived in Michigan for 26 years. I earned a JD from Cooley Law School. I also have a master's degree in human services counseling from Liberty University, and I have a second master's degree in forensic psychology from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. I've been practicing law for nearly 20 years, largely doing indigent work, indigent criminal defense, that is. For the first 14 years, I was in private practice until 2020 when I accepted a position with the Jackson County Public Defender's Office. I remained in that position for 5 years doing high severity felonies and life offenses. Until 2025, when I accepted a position with the Livingston County Public Defender's Office, where I'm presently employed, again, handling high severity felonies and life offense cases. I also do a great deal of work with individuals with mental illness, based on my background and the education and training that I have in that area. In 2014, I was invited to participate in the formation of the Ingham County 30th Circuit Mental Health Treatment Court. Once that court was up and running, I served as a defense attorney on that team for several years. I am honored to be considered as a candidate for the judge of the 44th Circuit Court.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Light, please share your opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the Women League of Voters for hosting this event tonight. And thank you to my colleagues who are all present here tonight. Good evening. My name is Christina Like, and I am running for Circuit Court Judge for Livingston County. I was raised in Pinckney. I attended Hiawatha Beach Church, located in Hamburg. I became a trustee for the Village of Pinckney at age 19, and I was able to receive a raise for the police at a young age, and I also ceased double taxation. Now, I'm a graduate of Thomas Cooley Law School. I was admitted to the state bar. Then I was also admitted to both Western and Eastern federal district courts. I'm a certified parenting time coordinator. I'm also a mediator, a family law lawyer, and also a constitutional attorney and criminal defense attorney. I have mentored many, many students and been at very many speaking engagements. Over the 20 years of experience in circuit court, I have several areas of law that I have experience in. I made a promise to God to help the veterans a long time ago and the Christians, and throughout the 20 years of experience, I have made that promise. I will fight for them, and I will fight for all of the individuals here in Livingston County, make sure the children are being protected and make sure that there is safety for all of our residents. And I also want to make sure that I will continue to let everyone know that I will continue to serve this community as your next circuit court judge.
Okay, thank you all for your opening statements. So it's time now to begin answering questions from the community and rotating the order of candidate responses. So we will be putting the questions in the chat for your reference. And so we will start again with candidate Banfield for the first question. Given Livingston County's ongoing backlog of court cases and limited resources, how would you balance efficiency with the need for fairness in the courtroom?
Fairness in the courtroom is very important, and because of the backlog, you cannot run the docket in a quick manner. I will use my experience as a practitioner who has to balance multiple clients at multiple times. And so I have learned how to be very organized in meeting my clients' needs. I tend to do that as a circuit court judge. I have worked for circuit court judges that have worked very efficiently, and that requires organization and control of your court docket. And I intend to do that first, tackling the oldest cases and making sure that the attorneys who are representing their clients have done the work to get the case ready for trial, because on the first day, I'll be ready to assist in the backlog that is facing the courts in Livingston County.
Excuse me. Thank you. Candidate Candela, it's now your turn to answer the same question.
Thank you. So as a prosecutor, I've actually dealt with this issue, dealing with a docket. When we're assigned a courtroom docket, at the end of COVID, we were dealing with the backlog of cases due to COVID, and we were able to manage that docket and proceed through those cases and come up to speed very quickly. And what it really comes down to is genuine work ethic. Public service is not a 9 to 5 job. Public service requires however many hours are necessary to get the job done and to get it done right for the people. And that's really what it comes down to. You have to be willing to put in the hours, put in the work to serve the people so that when a judge takes the bench, they know their case, they know the facts, and they know the law so that they can make an informed decision for the people.
Thank you. Candidate Gatesman, to you.
Thank you. Well, I think what's important to recognize is the judge is the leader in the courtroom, and he's the leader of the lawyers that are there and the litigants. Litigants need the opportunity and should be given that opportunity to litigate their case, but a judge needs to put a framework around that allows the litigants to understand that if the case needs to be tried, it will be tried. And that usually comes to fruition with a scheduling order that's given to the litigants. And the litigants need to understand that when the court sets a trial date, they're going to go to trial. Because in my experience, when litigants are up against the wall and a case is coming to trial, things seem to get resolved. Conflicts are looked at in a different way, and the backlog can be addressed in that manner. Judges should set more than one case for trial at a time, because often cases will resolve very close to trial, and in that manner, a docket can be prepared to handle more than one case at trial, and a trial session can go forward with a case and a jury being picked to make sure that that case, or at least one case, is going in front of a trial and that case is resolved. I have experience working in courts with high volumes of cases, and that's really what judges do. They're prepared or confronted with large volumes of cases, and that's what I've done throughout my entire career.
Thank you. To you, Candidate Hayes.
One of my biggest priorities will be relieving docket congestion. This includes running a more efficient court docket by imposing strict scheduling order timeframes. Also, in my experience as a criminal defense attorney, a large part of the docket also includes cases involving mental illness. As judge, I would want to make sure that people waiting for competency evaluations and treatment to restore them to competency are not languishing in the jail for months, which unfortunately is the situation right now. I would want to utilize the resources currently available and maybe develop new resources to kind of, combat that unfortunate situation right now. I would welcome the opportunity, honestly, to preside over a mental health treatment court, particularly with my experience and background and education and training in that area. I would like to work toward creating a path for intensive support they need while obviously preserving accountability and public safety, because those are also very important, and really incumbent on a judge to make sure that those areas are accounted for and addressed. I possess the skills and tools necessary to effectively do that. I think that would ultimately contribute a long way to relieving court docket congestion at this point, and it would also reduce recidivism and potentially lighten future caseloads.
Thank you. And candidate Lake, to you.
Thank you. That's a very good question that you have. And one of the things is that when we have congestion, it makes justice unaffordable. So people are waiting and waiting and waiting to get their trial heard. So we shouldn't have that any longer. We shouldn't have people spending millions of dollars, not excuse me, millions, but thousands of dollars on their attorney fees. That's ridiculous. So I say that we need to have, and I've worked at many, many different courts, Eaton, Livingston, Shiawassee, several different ones. And what I've seen is differences in the courts and differences in our court. And what we can do is actually have a time set for efficiency and effectiveness. A good judge will actually make sure that their trial docket is run effectively and efficiently. And I want to make sure that we do that. But how do we do that? We want to make sure it starts with the staff. And you want to make sure that you're good to your staff and make sure that you're patient with them and they help you and you help them. And we get scheduling orders out to individuals and make sure that those scheduling orders have dates on them and make sure that we follow those dates. Not only that, we also have to make sure that we are taking care of the front of the court matters. Not everything needs to go to the front of the court. A lot of those motions can be heard right in front of myself. And I would hope that they would be heard, and emergency motions, and I see my time's out, but emergency motions need to be heard in front of me too as well. Thank you.
Thank you. For the second question, we will begin with candidate Candela. The importance of impartial judicial behavior has received a great deal of attention recently. How will you ensure your professional decision-making reflects this priority?
Thank you. So impartiality in any judge is particularly important in the decision-making process. And the way that you ensure impartiality is by applying the law as written and setting political agendas and personal agendas aside. Politics should never be inside of our courtrooms. There is no such thing as partisan law. The law needs to be applied equally to everyone and in a timely and efficient manner. So a good judge, a good public servant is dedicated to doing the job the right way, regardless of political pressures, regardless of whether it's a popular opinion or not. They will apply the law the way that it has been written and follow that accordingly.
Thank you. Candidate Gatesman, your turn.
What a judge needs to do in order to be impartial, in my opinion rather, is to look at the facts of the case that's in front of them and the law, and that's it. And the law should be followed. It should not be created or espoused different from what has been issued by other judges or by the legislature. A good analogy, I think, for people to understand what judges do, in my opinion, and what I would do, is a judge is an umpire. Again, he wants the lawyers to be prepared, the lawyers to present the arguments, bring out the law, and the judge can have colloquies with the lawyers to ask them questions, to push the lawyers, because it is an adversarial process, and that allows the judge to come to the right decision. when he's looking at the law as it's written and looking at the facts of the case, and that's it. And then again, in that analogy, as an umpire, deciding how the law and the facts in the particular case really apply. And that, I think, really gives a lawyer, or rather a judge, a manner to be impartial and to look at the litigants, the strengths of the case, how the law applies to it. And that's what a judge should do. That's what I would be committed to doing if I was a judge.
Thank you. Candidate Hayes, the question goes to you now.
So fairness and effectiveness as a judge in the courtroom boils down to this. Livingston County deserves a court where people are treated with dignity and respect. The law is applied with integrity, and justice is administered fairly according to the law. And an understanding the power that comes with being a judge and using it responsibly. Responsibly is what I'm trying to say. It also involves avoiding anything that could be construed as an abuse of power, a conflict of interest, or a disregard of the law as it is written in favor of promoting one's own agenda. There's no place at the bench for that. And as a judge, I would ensure that these are all of the things that I employ in the courtroom to ensure fairness and effectiveness for everyone that comes before the court.
Thank you. Candidate Like, question to you.
Thank you. This is another very good question. First of all, I would like to say 20 years ago, I took an oath to abide by the Constitution, and I took that very seriously. In fact, I remember my hand was shaking. It wasn't because I didn't think I could follow it or anything, but that's a lot to hold upon yourself, and that's a lot for a judge to do as well. So you want to make sure when you go to the polls, you want to make sure that you have a judge that is actually going to make decisions by the rule of law and decisions made by the Constitution. Not just the US Constitution, but the state Constitution. We also want to make sure that we take care of like situations with, well, I'm actually going to state this. We have this lady that's the justice lady, and she's blind. When she comes into court, she wants to make sure that the facts, she doesn't know any of the facts. But when she hears this case, should she be deaf to the facts too? And that's what we have to come down to. We have to make sure that we're listening. A good judge will listen effectively and efficiently, be patient for anyone that walks into their courtroom, and make sure that justice is by the rule of law. Decisions are made by rule of law and the US Constitution and state Constitution. And make sure that I will make sure that, as personally, to go and be prepared each and every day before I go and take the bench. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Banfield, to you.
Yes, all of my fellow candidates have touched on all the important topics of why we need to be an impartial jurist. But most importantly, jurists are not legislature. We are to follow the law based on the facts before us. And as a judge, we must be sure that we do not have any implicit bias when making our ruling. And that may take at times, you might find yourself wanting to jump to assumptions, and the best and thoughtful decisions by a judiciary can be made after taking a brief break if you were to jump to presumptions. But it's also to continue to educate yourself in learning the tools to not run the risk to allow implicit bias to enter your thought process. I think that's a very important baseline. And we also have to make sure that we remind ourselves continually that we are servant and that we've been honored to be appointed on the bench, and that service requires us to look beyond ourselves and look at each individual as they come before us and apply the facts to the law and make a ruling without any prejudice before any of the litigants.
Thank you. Now for question 3, candidate Gatesman, we will begin with you. How do you ensure impartiality when you may personally know attorneys, parties, or law enforcement in a smaller community such as Livingston County? Under what conditions would you recuse yourself?
Well, there's some rather strict requirements where judges have to recuse themselves if they're related to someone, if they have business dealings with someone. But judges are presumed to be impartial. That's the state of the law. And because it's such an important position, judges should uphold themselves to that, which I would. I practiced in federal courts, state courts. I practiced in Florida where I'm licensed and in Howell where I grew up. I'm used to working with prosecutors who I know and see in the community. I'm used to working with law enforcement who I volunteer with or know from church or have done athletic activities with or been part of charitable activities with. So this wouldn't be something new for me. It's not something new for me. Lawyers have ethics and code of conduct, which we all have, and I've had and taken oath to that. So I've followed those code of ethics about being fair and being honest and being a judge and impartiality. Having come from a small community and conducted myself in a professional manner with people I know, like the prosecutor. I've been familiar with, or I've known Dave Morse, the former prosecutor, William Valancourt, the former prosecutor, Dave Reeder, the former prosecutor, and I had no problems working with them at all within the law.
Thank you. Candidate Hayes, the question goes to you now.
So with regard to under what circumstances I would recuse myself, I would just say broadly anything that seems that it might present a conflict of interest or would cause any kind of bias on my own part, where I honestly would not believe that I would be able to be impartial and fair to all parties. It's incumbent on a judge to absolutely do that in every circumstance. It's not even, it's not even a question. It's an absolute. We are bound to the code of ethics. And we are supposed to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. We're human. We interact with legal professionals, on a daily basis through, bar meetings, and sometimes you'll be out and about and see people even in the community shopping or whatever, outside of the courtroom. But when you're in the courtroom, it has to be very clear that that is a different place, it's a different setting, it's a different environment, and that is where the judge has to be the judge, regardless of any personal relationships that they may have or any associations with other people outside of the courtroom. When you're in the courtroom and you put that robe on, that's when the boundaries are in place and you have to be fair and impartial. And if you're not, you're required to state that and step away and recuse yourself.
Thank you. Candidate Lake, to you.
Thank you. My colleagues have a lot of has said some of the things that I would say earlier, but one of the things that I would like to say is that it's about placing the people first. So when people come into your courtroom, you're there to serve them. You are a public servant to the community. You're a public servant and they look up to you. But let's not forget, judges put their pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else. And everyone is to be treated fairly in that courtroom. And we have rules and ethics, but the canons we follow. And those canons are very important for us to follow, just like the professional ethics as us attorneys have to follow too as well. But one of the things that I would say is that if you cannot follow, well, first of all decisions need to be made without bias or prejudice or having politics involved, and they have to be impartial, right? So what I would say is this, is that if that cannot be done, then the individual needs to recuse themselves. But at that time period, I don't see how that would, well, I will say this. I've known many judges over the years, and I've been friends with many judges. Judge Ecolina is a good friend of mine. She endorsed me. And you know what? She has taught me the values of being on the bench, serving the different individuals, and making sure that you make impartial decisions and that you're making decisions by the rule of law, and that you do not need to, and I see my time's up.
Thank you. Candidate Banfield, to you.
Yes, as an attorney, we have to follow the rules of ethics. And then as a judiciary, we have the judicial canons. They are very specific and require us to recuse ourselves for actual prejudice, outside evidence that would cause us to have prejudice. But I think we need to look to my record. In my career, I've had to follow the ethics for attorneys, and in my 25 years of practice, I've never been grieved for any unethical behavior as a practicing attorney. An example of where I had to deal with recusing myself is I was a juvenile public defender in drug court. I left that because at the time my spouse was a police officer in the schools for Howell. And I felt that because of the small community and being committed to the teens on drug court, that the possibility of a conflict arising, I left that when my spouse had been assigned to the schools. I take ethics very seriously, and I will continue to do that if I'm honored to be elected to the circuit court.
Thank you. And candidate Candela.
Thank you. I think impartiality is really one of the cornerstones to public trust in our judicial system. And as a prosecutor, I deal with cases like this all the time, where I may know a defense attorney who's representing an individual in court, or I may be reviewing a police-involved shooting, and I may know that officer. And at the end of the day, when you're performing a public service for the people, the integrity of that position and the integrity of the system needs to rise above any personal biases. And one of the ways that you can ensure that is through transparency in the process. And I think transparency in our court system is particularly important because you do have attorneys and participants in the courtroom and individuals who participate in the process who the courtroom should be open to, and we should be facilitating access to that courtroom as much as possible to ensure that that transparency and that integrity is being upheld. Thank you.
Thank you. For question 4, candidate Hayes will begin. There is national recognition that law enforcement and legal systems would be better served if there were increased resources to address mental health and addiction issues for offenders. What is your understanding and experience with these issues?
So my experience has been this. I want to just start by saying I think the police do a marvelous job. But the issue here, I think, with regard to mental illness, unfortunately, is we are not really adept at providing police officers the training that they need to be able to engage with these individuals in the field. They're not trained for that. They are to enforce the law. They're not mental health professionals. And unfortunately, they do a lot of, they're the first point of contact with a lot of these individuals in the community that are experiencing psychotic crisis. And it really, unfortunately, ends up oftentimes with these individuals, instead of getting the help that they need, getting new charges. And so the cycle just exacerbates itself. And again, I'm not, trying to say that the police officers aren't doing a great job, because they are. I think they're doing the best that they can with what they have to work with. I think a lot of times, because of the lack of resources that we have to educate officers on how to de-escalate the situations, in a lot of cases, it actually puts them in harm's way. I've seen cases where police officers have been bitten, kicked, spit at, and they're doing, what they can, but they're definitely, this is broken. This system is very broken and really needs a lot of really brainstorming and a lot of minds coming together singularly to be able to work out a way that these people can get the help that they need and can get channeled into mental health treatment, rather than jails or prisons where
The time has expired.
do not belong.
Thank you. Candidate Like, to you.
Thank you. I have had the pleasure of taking them to the mental health care, and they may hold them for maybe 24 hours, and then it's right back there again. So again, this is an issue. And the police officers, I want to be clear, the police officers are not social workers. They are there to protect society. And what really needs to be done is maybe perhaps having the legislature come in, and this is not our field of expertise because we don't legislate law, we interpret it. And so what comes down to it is the mental health court. The problem is with mental health court is that to get into the program, so that's an issue in itself. So the system is broken, but we need to make sure that we support the police officers in the field and make sure that we help the individuals who have mental health problems and not just sanction them to jail.
Candidate Banfield, to you.
Yes, I've had experience representing the mentally ill at mental health commitments and understand the crisis that we have, that we do not have many resources within the community. I desire to be a judge that is community-centered and get connected with law enforcement and also community mental health to ensure that I have information of what's available for those who appear before me and what resources they can use. All of the candidates are correct. There is limited resources, but we have to use what we have out there. Thankfully, we have a community that rallies together to help those in need. And my hopes is to work with different coalitions within our community to make sure that we have training with our police and our mental health practitioners to understand the intersect between the court system, mental health, and the treatment of those individuals and how the police can interact and help in the situation. But we are not legislators, as others have indicated. We do not have the resources as the jurist to provide resources, but we do have an obligation to understand what is available in our community so that we can send individuals to get the proper treatment they may need. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Candela.
Thank you. Our law enforcement legal system undoubtedly would be better served with additional resources to address mental health and addiction issues. As a circuit court judge, our role is not so much to be able to create or enhance those resources. That is something that would fall to the legislature. Our responsibility is to make sure that we are well informed and aware of the programs and the resources that are available so that when individuals come into the criminal justice system, there can be an appropriate balance between accountability and rehabilitation. And oftentimes individuals who come into contact with the criminal justice system, they can go into specialty treatment courts and receive the resources and the services that are provided through that. And I've seen it firsthand, having worked in specialty courts, where individuals will come out of the other end of that program and have completely turned their lives around and become productive members of society. So the more that we as members of the legal community can facilitate that while also finding the appropriate balance between public safety and in those programs. The more that we can do that, the better off we can serve our community.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Gatesman, to you.
To specifically answer the question, the way these issues can be addressed are with the specialty courts that exist. And right now in Livingston County, we have a veterans court. We have 2 sobriety courts for people who have drug and alcohol issues, and we have a mental health court. And those courts are well funded. It's about using the resources to have the most people in those programs, working with the experts who are in them. The resources that are available in Livingston County are Catholic Charities, Key Development, Community and Mental Health. As a judge, I would use those resources for the people who are in need in the system, as well as the specialty courts. And what the specialty courts do is they protect law enforcement. They protect the community because we get the people into the programs who have substance abuse problems and mental health problems, and we protect the veterans by bringing them into the veterans program. We get them treatment that is in a group posture, individual therapy. We have those people come to court twice a month. I would support that. They see probation twice a month. And so this is what exists right now. And it's about using what exists right now, and I believe what is well funded right now to address these issues. The key really is the way it's treated now, realizing why people use and how to get them to understand it, accept the treatment so that they don't come back into the system.
Thank you. Candidate Like, you will begin with question 5. What steps will you take to ensure that individuals from low-income backgrounds and marginalized communities receive the exact same quality of justice as those who can afford high-priced legal counsel?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I would say this, everybody deserves to have justice in the courtroom. Everybody should be treated fairly and without bias or without prejudice. And I will say this, throughout my 20 years of experience, I have helped many individuals who are indigent. I've done a lot of pro bono cases for veterans who are indigent. I've done a lot of pro bono cases for people who are with domestic violence. And you know what? The thing of it is that people have to remember that these are people we need to make sure that we can serve them. And we need to serve each person. So each person is important in the courtroom, and we need to make sure that we place the people first. So with that being said, I've already had experience. I've served the public by doing this. And I'm very, over the years, I've helped a lot of individuals who have been indigent. Some even have brought me eggs for a retainer. And I am, very proud to have helped them. As soon as they walked out of my office, I helped them become, like they've actually started a business, or they've actually gone and become a pharmacist. So there's a lot of things that we as a judge can do to make sure that, and I will never treat anyone unfairly.
Thank you.
First and foremost, we are to look at anybody that's before our court in the same light, whether they have money, resources, or a high-priced attorney. We are, for the more marginalized community, I think it's important for judges to not talk down to the litigants, to remain calm when explaining complicated issues, to speak in plain English and eliminate complex legal jargon so individuals without legal background can fully understand the proceedings. I think it's also important to explain the court steps in plain English and the expectations and the rules that you have in your court at the beginning of every hearing. I also feel it's important that there's resources listed in the courtroom providing litigants information to the Michigan helpline that assist in drafting legal documents for free, and also contacts for legal aid to be clearly noted in your courtroom. If parties, if they can be spoken to in polite and fair and not be people who go in front of the court are very scared. And if you explain to them the resources that are available and how you're going to handle your case and explain the why and where we're going here, you'll find a calmer demeanor and people get their positions heard, and we can do our job successfully.
Thank you. Candidate Candela.
Thank you. I think in large part what this boils down to is judicial temperament and having the calmness or the appropriate judicial temperament to work with people in your courtroom who do not understand the judicial process, who may not be able to afford an attorney. This is something common in family law cases where many individuals represent themselves going through a divorce. In criminal cases, oftentimes there are public defenders assigned, and those public defenders are very good attorneys and very well skilled at what they do. So I think as a judge, the important thing is to make sure that everybody in the courtroom is being heard. Everybody's getting an opportunity to be heard in the courtroom and given a fair shake, and that the expectations of the court are set out. When you have a pro per litigant in the courtroom, having the ability to explain to them the process without allowing frustrations to intervene, because it will slow down the process. And that litigant is deserving of that same equal justice in the courtroom as anybody else who might be able to afford a very pricey attorney. The process should be the same for every.
Thank you. Candidate Gatesman, to you.
I think it's important to understand that litigation is not a pleasant fact or a pleasant thing, whether it's a criminal matter, a domestic matter, or a civil matter, which is all the jurisdiction of this circuit court. I think what judges need to do is that they need to probe the lawyers for the facts of the case, so they're well informed about what is in front of them and the law, and the judge then is in a good position to apply the law to the facts. My practice has always been a high volume practice. I've been a public defender, I've done civil matters, I've done domestic work. And so I think that my practice over the 25 years is similar to what a judge does, dealing with a lot of different cases, a lot of different lawyers, a lot of different litigants in front of them. And I think I've done it successfully over my career to sit down and talk with somebody and explain to them what's going to happen when we go into court and how the facts of their case are going to be presented and how the law applies to them, sometimes in the manner which they like and sometimes in the manner in which they don't, and where there's going to be success in their case and where there's not. And as a judge, I would do the same thing. And I would apply the law as it's written to the facts as I probe the lawyers to tell me what the facts are, to ensure that regardless of someone's economic status or their status within the community, they're treated fairly and similarly throughout the docket. Thank you.
Thank you. And to Candidate Hayes. You're muted, Candidate Hayes.
I'm so sorry. Steps to ensure that low-income individuals receive the same fare to pay for it. So as a public defender, that is always very before me. Our office, often, when the usual process is when someone requests an attorney and they can't afford one, the judge refers them to our office. Our office conducts a financial background screen to determine eligibility. People who are truly indigent will receive our services if they want them. What I see sometimes, though, that I find particularly troubling is every once in a while, there will be a criminal defendant who makes too much money to qualify for a public defender, but can't afford an attorney either. And so those are the people that feel that they have no choice but to represent themselves. And my heart always stops when I see them, say, well, I guess I'll have to represent myself, especially if they are in a situation where they're charged with a very serious felony. Those individuals, I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that there are user-friendly resources if they have to self-represent, to give them the best opportunity to be able to have their cases fairly decided with due process.
Thank you. And, oh, okay, sorry. I was just double checking my notes there for a second. And then this is going to be our last question from the community tonight. So we will begin with candidate Banfield. What do you see is the biggest challenge facing the Livingston County Circuit Court, and what would you do about that challenge?
I'm sorry, but you froze. I'm not sure if everybody else froze, but I did not get the question.
Okay, I will say it again. I'm so sorry. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the Livingston County Circuit Court, and what would you do about it?
I think the biggest challenge is this backlog in cases. And that is what has given me the motivation to run for circuit court. I have been having to explain to clients that I cannot get their cases heard in a timely manner, despite following all the court rules and procedures. Sadly, I've had clients who have had to wait 1 to 2 years for a trial date, and that it causes instability in their family and in their household. So one of the things I'll first do is make sure that I have a scheduling order that will be followed in my courtroom, and I will require the attorneys to meet frequently to ensure that they're getting cases moved forward. I will do a docket that will have multiple matters scheduled, but staggered. I do not want to do a cattle call where there's 10 cases scheduled at the same time. I will structure those in a timely fashion to ensure that litigants do not have to spend extraordinary resources waiting for their case to be called. Until I get behind the bench and see how it works, I can't give you all the answers to solve the problem, but my goal is to
once talking to voters across the county, and I've heard different things that they wish were or could be improved in the courts. The backlog of cases is definitely one of the top issues that you hear. Other concerns that I've heard are things like difficulties obtaining transcripts and difficulty getting court orders, things of those nature. And I think that is really where we can improve the courts the most, is having an efficiently run courtroom that will allow our backlog to be resolved and to start moving forward with cases in a timely manner, and facilitating access to the courtroom and facilitating access to justice as much as we can within the confines of the court rules and the rules that the state court administrator's office places on us. As a problem-solving court, the more that we can give access to justice, the better off we are serving the people. And I think that should be a top priority for any candidate in this race. And it's certainly a top priority for myself.
Thank you. Candidate Gatesman.
I think it's important to understand that the number of circuit courts that a jurisdiction has is dependent on the population. And the population of Livingston County really calls for a fourth circuit court. So my hat's off to the judges who are there now working with dockets that really would support another judge. But really, the courts, how we would solve that, I think one of the ways is efficiency of the courts. The judge is in control of the courtroom. He's the leader in the courtroom. He should have a scheduling order that places a framework over litigation and allows the litigation to approve is to has done that here in Livingston County. They have TrueFile. All filings are done electronically. It also provides transparency for the community because the true files are available to the public. So I would support e-filing in the circuit court. And again, docket control. Litigants need to understand whether, no matter what docket it is, if there's a trial date, they're going to trial. It helps resolve cases. And the judge should set more than one case for a trial date. So if one goes away, another one can go. That's an efficient way to really move cases through the system.
Thank you. Candidate Hayes, to you.
So as it's been mentioned here, docket congestion is a problem. I see that as the biggest problem in the circuit courts right now for a variety of reasons. In my experience in the courtroom as a trial attorney, I think it is incumbent on a judge to have a scheduling order that is strictly complied with. Too often I see cases that are set for trial and then, at the 11th hour, a witness wasn't subpoenaed or someone else is on vacation and they're just not available. And to me, I think it goes a long way to ensure that attorneys are prepared. If the judge sets a trial date and the attorneys tell the judge that that is a good date and their witnesses are available, then that is what a judge would expect to happen as the trial, becomes, imminent. So I think a scheduling order absolutely is one of the most important safeguards for trying to combat docket congestion. Again, with the issue of mental illness, there are a lot of individuals that attorneys that request competency evaluations and criminal responsibility evaluations. The way the mental health code is written is once competency is raised, everything has to stop. And unfortunately, because of the broken system and the lack of resources to be able to conduct those competency evaluations, there are people that are in jails waiting for months and, and sometimes years, waiting for an evaluation. And that is what also contributes to docket congestion because nothing moves.
Thank you. And candidate questions to you now.
Thank you. I believe that there are many challenges for circuit court. But one of them I would like to talk about is the challenge of children being abused. I'm a family law attorney, and I have helped a lot of children get out of abused homes. And this is very passionate for myself to make sure children are protected in our community. One of those things is ex parte motions and ex parte orders need to be, first of all, ex parte motions and emergency motions need to be heard immediately. And that way we're protecting our community and the children. And another thing that I see as a big challenge for us is that we have what is called cattle call already in Livingston County. We have 8:30 and 1:30. And what's happening is the middle class people is actually waiting, and their time's just a clicking. And what this means is that they're waiting for their attorney to sit help. But we also need to make sure too that we're getting more things heard in front of the judge instead of always referring it out to the front of the court. That way we're not going to have a backlog on front of the court cases and also family law matters.
Thank you. And now it is time for the closing statements. They can last up to 90 seconds each. For our closing statements, we will continue in our order from our questions. So we will begin with candidate Candela. So candidate Candela, you can begin with your closing statement.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters and the Howell Carnegie Library for hosting this event. This is a particularly important election for Livingston County. And when it comes to selecting the county's next circuit court judge, it's imperative that the voters are well informed and know who their candidates are. It's a common complaint that I've heard on the campaign trails that there's never enough information about judges out there. So I'm grateful to have this opportunity to tell the voters and the people of Livingston County a little bit about myself. Livingston County really deserves a judge that is ready to do the job on day one, a judge that has the experience, the temperament, and the judicial philosophy to build trust and confidence in our court system. And that's what I offer to Livingston County. Quality experience over quantity of experience, a proven judicial temperament, and a record of integrity and transparency, and a judicial philosophy that ensures that decisions are going to be grounded in the law, not political agendas or personal opinions. So I hope to have earned your vote tonight, and so that takes.
And I was born and raised here. And so I worked with the system asking to be a judge of. I worked in this more than 25 years. My office is right here in Howell, and I think I have the confidence of the Livingston County community because I've run a successful business here for more than 25 years. I think that's based on the community's confidence in my professionalism and my ethics. I've been recruited by judges, as I've said, to be part of the sobriety court program. I was recruited by judges who are some still on the bench and some who have retired to take the overflow work from the public defender's office and even be a contract public defender before we had the really good public defender's office we have now. I have experience not only being licensed in Michigan, but I'm licensed in Florida. I also work regularly in the federal court system. So I've seen a variety of different systems, different judges, different temperaments, and I bring all the best that I could see from those different systems. Running a business is something that gives me expertise in budgetary situations and personnel, which are also things that judges have to deal with. I'd ask for your vote August 4th, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Candidate Hayes, time for your closing statement.
For nearly 20 years, I've served in our justice system at the moments when lives can change forever. I've seen how a single decision from the bench can change a life, a family, a future, and an entire community's faith in justice. As a judge for the 44th Circuit Court, I would treat all people who come before me with dignity and respect. I would apply the law as it is written fairly and impartially, and I would maintain a strict docket that ensures timely resolution of cases without undue delay. As an individual who, in addition to a law degree, has 2 master's degrees, one in human services counseling and one in forensic psychology, I have the unique advantage as judge to look at issues from not only the legal side, but also from the side where mental illness occurs. And I think, that is a unique perspective. And I think that qualifies me to be able to see a lot of issues as a judge involving people with mental illness. And by the way, mental illness doesn't only occur in criminal defense. Mental illness can occur in pretty much any area of law. And so that I believe those dual degrees give me that advantage. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us tonight. I thank you for your support. I thank you for your vote. And I thank you for the opportunity to serve Livingston County.
Thank you. Now, candidate Like, time for your closing statement.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the Women League of Voters for having all of us here tonight again, and thank all who are listening tonight. First of all, I did grow up in Livingston County. I now live in Fowlerville. I would like to point out that circuit court, we've heard a lot about what is a circuit court judge, but what does a circuit court judge entail? So which makes me more qualified. Not only that, with family law, I have been I'm also a certified mediator and also a parenting time coordinator too. But what we need to have in a judge is this: we need to protect the community, which means safeguarding our children and families, ensuring our courtrooms remain a shield for the innocent and a place of accountability. standing with our veterans, our first responders, providing real support for those who have sacrificed the most for us, and make sure we have constitutional fairness. Impartial justice rooted strictly in the law, completely free from personal agendas. Now the culture is going to change, but we got to step up and lead, and let's bring experienced, principled, and fair leadership to our local system. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, candidate Banfield, your closing statement.
I would like to thank the League for this opportunity. I believe in community-centered justice. You will see from my 25 years of experience in this community, that I have the reputation, the temperament and experience, and the ethics to serve as the next circuit court judge. As a mother, a business owner, and lifelong Livingston County resident from a working class background, I understand the complex issues that are facing families in Livingston County. As a business owner, I understand firsthand the sacrifices that families go through to hire an attorney or to appear before court. I have the proven track record. I have the track record of advancing each client's needs while mindful of the harm that extended litigation can cause families if the wrong approach is taken in the court system. Also, my community involvement runs deep. I have served on the Livingston County Child Abuse Prevention Council. I am also been appointed.
A huge thank you to each of you for participating in this incredibly valuable session. On behalf of the League of Women Voters with the Livingston County, Carolyn Green will now provide a closing statement. So to you, Carolyn.
Well, the League thanks the candidates for participating in tonight's forum and all the volunteers who assisted in offering this program. Sincere thanks to all of the candidates that are running. It's a huge commitment to put yourself forward to serve the public, so thank you. All of our forums are available for streaming on the YouTube channel for the League of Women Voters, which will be available on our social media and website, lwvlivingstonco.org. You can also review the recording of this forum, along with the candidates' responses to the questions at vote411.org, our online voter guide. Michigan has no reason absentee voting, therefore all voters are eligible to cast absentee ballots. Michigan law now provides same-day voter registration by going to your local clerk's office. 9 days of early voting are available for this primary election. So remember, no matter how you do it, be sure to vote in the August 4th primary election. Thank you.